Blink-182's 1999 album Enema of the State is undoubtedly one of the most important pop-punk records of all time. So, with the lineup of Mark Hoppus, Tom DeLonge and Travis Barker back together, we thought we'd take a look into the Rock Sound archive to find out a little bit more about the making of a classic. First up, huge single What's My Age Again has been certified platinum in the UK. Here's what Mark Hoppus told us about the initial writing process behind the track and making its famous music video.
In my living room in San Diego, I picked up a guitar and I wrote this little riff and I started writing a joke song that was a lot more obscene than the final version. And we were just going to record it as a joke song, but Tom and Travis were both like, that song's too good to make a joke song. Let's make an actual song out of it. And so we recorded it and it did very well, and the rest is history. What's My Age Again was the first video off of Enema of the State. It was our first single off of Enema of the State. And Marco Siega, the director, had this idea: why don't you guys run around the city naked? And we trusted him, and the video turned out actually really good. It was very edgy for the time, not something I would do again. The video shoot for What's My Age Again took 3 days, as videos back then did, and we spent a lot of time with flesh-colored Speedos standing around the streets of Los Angeles. Is really awkward. I don't suggest it.
And speaking of music videos, the iconic boy band spoofing clip For All the Small Things has now been viewed over 320 million times on YouTube. However, Mark told us he initially wasn't quite sold on the idea behind it.
All the Small Things was also directed by Marco Siega, and he told us the video concept, and I remember at the end of the video saying, "This isn't funny. Nobody's gonna like this video. There's nothing funny about it." And it ended up being probably our most well-received video, and people thought it was genius. I guess my issue with it was that I didn't have any frame of reference. I didn't watch any of these pop bands. I didn't know any of the videos that we were spoofing, so I was totally wrong. It turned out great. That beach is actually used a lot. The beach that we filmed the video on is just north of Malibu, and I see it in a lot of commercials, and I see it must be like a beach that people film stuff on all the time. We went down to Los Angeles and we had an afternoon of choreography. So we would do those weird dances. And we were doing a show called Making the Video. And during that time, I met my wife, my future wife.
One of the biggest fan favourites on the album is the song Aliens Exist. Written by Tom DeLonge, it of course references his fascination with the world of space, and Tom even played an acoustic version of it during Angels and Airwaves' recent tour.
The Aliens Exist song was interesting because I don't think I was doing it in the beginning of the tour, but during the tour, the U.S. Navy came out and mentioned that UFOs were real, and they mentioned my name. They were saying the videos that Tom DeLonge brought out were real, and those are real UFOs, and we're watching these things and paying attention to these things. So basically, here I am on tour, and the U.S. Navy comes out and acknowledges that unidentified flying objects are very real. You know, it's the first time in history, and they're doing it with my name in the same sentence. So I kind of took that, and the day that happened, I decided to throw in Aliens Exist, and the rest is history, and it was just like the perfect moment ever, you know.
The artwork features the image of Janine Lindemulder dressed as a nurse, but as Hoppus told us back in 2019, some changes did have to be made to the original version of the photo. He explained, because the nurse costume had a red cross on it, it was in violation of the Geneva Convention, because I guess you can't have a red cross unless it's actually a medical device or medical personnel. So we were contacted and informed that we were in violation of the Geneva Convention and we had to remove the red cross. Adam's Song is another standout track on the record, a more somber moment dealing with the subject of depression. On writing the song, Mark said, "It was so different to everything else we'd been writing at the time that I was a little worried about bringing it to the band. Then I played them the song and they were like, oh, this is great, this is what we need on the record. It was a song that meant a lot to me, and when I put it out there, it was one of the first times that I saw how being so honest in your lyrics really connects with people. I'm super stoked that people still listen to it 20 years later. It's a great thing." The success of the album led the band to huge new commercial heights, with an estimated 15 million copies sold worldwide. The accompanying tour played in arenas and amphitheaters and was even recorded for the live album The Mark, Tom and Travis Show, The Enema Strikes Back.
It was such an amazing tour. Like, with Enema of the State, we went from playing theaters to playing amphitheaters and arenas, and just this whirlwind of like the band all of a sudden just shot out of a cannon, skyrocketing to heights that we never guessed that our band would possibly ever get to. And we recorded it like full on old school with a recording truck that came out to the show in Los Angeles and the show in San Francisco. And it was nerve-wracking because playing shows in LA is already nerve-wracking enough because you have friends and family and agents and lawyers and label people and radio station people and the whole, it's like your wedding. But backstage at a Los Angeles show, you're just shaking hands and, oh, hey, how's it going? And trying to keep everybody happy, and realizing also you have to walk on stage and not only perform well, first of all, for the audience, number one, most important for the audience. Second of all, you have all your peers and contemporaries and family and everybody else there. And third of all, you're recording this to put out an album for. So it was just really nerve-wracking for those 2 nights, but I love the way that it turned out.
On their success around that time, Mark said, "It was really crazy. 1 minute we were sleeping on people's floors when we were on tour, and then within a year or so we were hanging out at the MTV Video Music Awards, and Puff Daddy came into our dressing room asking if we had any champagne he could take. We were being played on the radio, then I'd walk into a store and our music would be playing over the sound system. We'd be recognized in the street in small-town Italy. It was a very surreal time." The band revisited the album for a 20th anniversary tour in 2019, playing the record in full each night. Mark reflected on that tour and what he has learned about the record itself over the years.
I'll tell you the 2 main takeaways that I had coming off of this tour. Number one is that the album still totally holds up and there's no bad song on the record, touch wood. Some people can disagree with me. But there's no song that we got to in the set and I was like, oh, I don't want to play that song again. Even 20 years later, I love the album. And there are people coming to those shows who weren't even born when the album came out. So that means that in 2019, there are people who are going to see Blink-182 as their first show and picked up Enema of the State recently and listened to it and were like, that album means something to me. So that's a huge honor.
That's an amazing feeling,
yeah.
surely. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Blink-182 will embark on a new world tour in 2023. That's your Rock Sound News Update. I've been James Wilson Taylor. We will see you again soon.